0347 local time, Arabian Sea, USS Abraham Lincoln, hull classification CVN 72, holds position approximately 500 miles southwest of Iran's southern coastline. She is running MCON level Bravo. Selective emissions only. The AN/SPY-1D multifunction radar paints a continuous 360-degree tactical picture. The Cooperative Engagement Capability Network, CEC, is live, distributing fused track data across every sensor node in the battle group in real time. Every surface combatant, every airborne asset, every combat information center console holds the same picture. Nobody is blind. Nobody is isolated. The network sees the ocean and everything above it. She is in open water, international waters. Not a choke point, not a contested transit lane. 5,000 feet of depth beneath her keel. Abraham Lincoln deployed from California in November. She has been conducting sustained operations in the Middle East theater since January 26th. This is not a new environment. The crew knows this ocean. They know what it produces. This is Navy operations. Subscribe for more real-time naval analysis and high-stakes maritime breakdowns. Combat Information Center. Aboard CVN 72 runs continuous track coverage on every airborne and surface contact within sensor range and beyond, fed by CEC correlation from Allied ISR platforms operating throughout the theater. On a standard watch, CIC processes hundreds of contacts per hour. Commercial airliners on filed flight plans, regional military aircraft squawking assigned identification codes, fishing vessels, container ships on known routing corridors. The radar does not separate threat from commerce by shape, it separates them by behavior, by heading, by compliance, by what a contact does and does not do. When it understands it is being watched, the Arabian Sea Watch runs. The board is populated and methodical. Nothing unusual breaks through the routine classification and dismissal of tracks. The CIC operators log, assess, and move on. That is the work. That is most of what CIC is, the systematic elimination of the unremarkable. At approximately 0312 Zulu, this specific timeline is analytical reconstruction for narrative purposes. Exact Zulu timestamps for this engagement are not confirmed in public reporting. A new airborne contact is designated and assigned a track identifier on the CIC tactical display. The contact emerges on a bearing northeast of the carrier. Initial detection range, 63 nautical miles. Initial altitude assessment, Angels 2 and below. Very low. Hugging the surface layer, below normal commercial flight altitudes by an order of magnitude. Airspeed assessed below 150 knots. No transponder emission. No Mode C altitude encoding. No ADS-B broadcast. New contact, northeast bearing, non-cooperative, mark, and track. The contact tells the radar nothing about itself. That silence is the first data point that matters on this watch. CEC pushes the track designation across the battle group net immediately. Every platform with a compatible terminal now holds the same picture. The contact is flagged for enhanced monitoring. The intelligence officer begins cross-referencing the radar cross-section against the theater threat library, a continuously updated catalog of every known airborne. The track is redesignated, no longer an unidentified contact. It is now assessed as a suspected hostile unmanned aerial vehicle of Iranian military origin. The watch officer makes the call to task an ISR asset for visual confirmation. FLIR and electro-optical sensors are assigned to the contact. The specific ISR platform utilized is not confirmed in public reporting. What the sensors return leaves no room for alternative interpretation. Fixed-wing airframe, propeller to the rear, no cockpit, no pilot, no visible civil markings. Configuration matches the Shahed-139 identification profile held in the theater identification library. The FLIR image is clear. Track confirmed. Iranian military UAS. Inbound. Range 47 nautical miles. Time to CPA, revised estimate, 31 minutes. The watch officer briefs up the chain of command. The situation report is concise and procedurally exact. One confirmed Iranian military drone, non-cooperative, inbound on a direct bearing toward the carrier. CPA projection inside the threat engagement envelope. 30 seconds, 1 minute to minimum approach at current closure rate. Under the rules of engagement applicable to this theater and this force posture, A confirmed non-cooperative Iranian military drone approaching U.S. naval forces in international waters does not immediately authorize a kinetic response. ROE requires de-escalation to be attempted before engagement. This is not a bureaucratic formality. It is a deliberate structural protection against the most consequential failure mode in any engagement: misidentification followed by an action that cannot be undone. Every non-kinetic option must be demonstrated as exhausted before the kinetic option becomes available. The framework exists precisely because the consequences of a mistake in these waters do not stay contained to the event itself. De-escalation measures are initiated. Guard frequency transmissions go out. International Air Distress Frequency 121.5 MHz. The call is direct. An unidentified aircraft is approaching a U.S. naval vessel in international waters. It is required to alter course immediately. The transmission goes out in English. It goes out in Farsi. It is sent multiple times, on multiple frequencies. Every channel available for the purpose has been used. The Shahed-139 does not respond. Heading unchanged. Airspeed unchanged. No climb, no descent, no deviation. The drone holds its bearing with the complete indifference of a platform that was never engineered to receive a course change instruction. A military attack drone launched on a mission does not carry a recall protocol keyed to a radio challenge. It was launched to close the distance to a target. The transmissions find no receiver aboarded, because there is no one aboarded. The silence is not a decision by a crew. The silence is a design specification written into the mission parameters before launch. Range: 41 nautical miles. Time to CPA, 27 minutes. CPA projection, unchanged. Inside the defensive envelope. CPA, inside threat envelope. De-escalation phase complete. Request intercept authorization. Emicon posture is elevated to reflect an imminent threat condition. CEC continues distributing the track to all battle group nodes. ISR tasking remains active. The SPY-1D maintains continuous lock on the contact. The commanding officer of Abraham Lincoln receives the full situation brief. One Iranian Shahed-139, confirmed by FLIR and ISR, non-cooperative. Inbound de-escalation transmitted on multiple frequencies, no response, heading unchanged. CPA inside the defensive envelope, ROE de-escalation phase satisfied. Intercept authorization is requested. The authorization is given. The Black Knights of Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 314, VMFA 314, are on ready status. They are the only F-35C unit assigned to Carrier Air Wing 9 aboard Abraham Lincoln. The distinction is operationally significant. The F-35C Lightning II is the carrier-capable fifth-generation strike fighter, the most advanced tactical aircraft currently operating from any flight deck in the world. It carries the ANAPG-81 active electronically scanned array radar, capable of tracking multiple airborne targets simultaneously at extended range with high angular resolution. It carries the Electro-Optical Targeting System, EOOS, embedded in the nose of the airframe, providing forward-looking infrared and electro-optical imaging for visual confirmation of targets at range without the drag penalty of a traditional targeting pod. It carries the Distributed Aperture System, DAS, 6 infrared cameras fused into a continuous seamless 360-degree spherical picture that projects directly onto the pilot's helmet-mounted display. The pilot sees in every direction through the skin of the aircraft, at altitude, at night, without turning the aircraft. The F-35C is not a blunt instrument. It is a precision sensor architecture that also carries weapons. A 35C launches from CVN 72's flight deck. The CEC link is active before the landing gear retracts. The SPY-1D track data from Abraham Lincoln is already loaded into the aircraft's mission computer. The pilot does not search for the contact. The contact is already designated, already tracked, already mapped to a bearing and a range on the display. The intercept vector is calculated. The aircraft turns northeast. Range from the carrier to the drone at time of launch, 33 nautical miles. The drone is still inbound, still no response on guard. The F-35C climbs to Angels 12. The Shahed Shahed-139 is assessed considerably lower, Angels 2 and below. The altitude geometry from 12,000 feet gives the EOTS a clean downward acquisition angle against the drone's low observable airframe. The pilot's EOTS locks the contact. The image confirms what ISR and FLIR reported minutes earlier. Fixed-wing, propeller-driven, unmanned, inbound, no deviation. The CEC net confirms that the SPY-1D track aboard Lincoln and the visual acquisition by the Intercept aircraft are the same contact. Same platform, same heading, same terminal objective. ROE threshold, met. De-escalation, transmitted, attempted, failed. Target identity, confirmed independently by ISR, FLIR, and USS. Engagement clearance, active. Weapons free. The F-35C, the range to Abraham Lincoln at the moment of terminal engagement, is not confirmed in public reporting. Based on the reconstructed timeline and observed closure geometry, the intercept is analytically assessed to have occurred inside 25 nautical miles from the carrier. No U.S. service members were injured. No U.S. equipment sustained damage. Both facts are confirmed in the official statement released by U.S. Central Command. Abraham Lincoln continues flight operations without interruption. The next combat air patrol cycle launches on schedule. The SPY-1D continues painting the northeast bearing. Track terminated, BDA complete. Log it. The Arabian Sea event is closed. Confirmed. Clean. Executed within the ROE framework from initial detection at 63 nautical miles through FLIR visual confirmation, guard transmission, intercept authorization, and terminal engagement. Every step in sequence. Every step on record. The system performed as designed. But as the CIC team on Abraham Lincoln is closing out the track, a separate operational sequence is already running 400 miles to the northwest. Different water, different forces, same adversary, same operational day. The Strait of Hormuz. The northern shoreline belongs to Iran. At the narrowest navigable point, the inbound and outbound shipping lanes each measure approximately 3 nautical miles in width, divided by a 2 nautical mile separation zone. There is no alternate route for a deep draft commercial tanker moving between the Persian Gulf and the open Indian Ocean. Every vessel making that transit threads through this corridor with Iranian territorial waters to the north, inside continuous radar and visual coverage from Iranian coastal infrastructure. Iran has watched this lane for decades. It knows every scheduled routing, it knows every radar return. MT Stena Imperative is a U.S. flagged oil tanker in eastbound transit through the strait. Her flag is American. As recently as August 2025, she was under charter to U.S. Military Sealift Command, the Navy's government logistics contracting arm. She is operationally managed by Swedish firm Stena Bull. Her crew is civilian. She carries no weapons. She is not a combatant. She is a commercial vessel executing a legal transit in an internationally recognized traffic separation scheme. What approaches off her port quarter is not a Coast Guard vessel on a routine inspection pass. 2 Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy fast attack boats close on Stena Imperative's position. The IRGCN is not Iran's conventional Artesh Navy. It is a separate military organization operating under its own command structure and its own doctrine, holding its own operational history in these waters. Its fast attack craft are purpose-built for confined water intercept operations, high-speed, shallow draft, capable of rapid approach and boarding sequence execution in the narrow lanes of the strait. The IRGCN has conducted tanker intercept and seizure operations in the Strait of Hormuz before. The documented record includes multiple incidents in the years preceding this event. The approach geometry the boats execute is not improvised. It is rehearsed. Accompanying the boats, a Mahajer drone, Iranian-manufactured, multi-role, unmanned aerial system. Confirmed in IRGCN operational inventories, the Mahajer operates above the surface element, relaying an overhead picture of the target vessel, deck layout, crew positions, any approaching response force. The boat crews are operating with eyes above. The drone is the intelligence. The boats are the execution layer. They converge on Stena Imperative together. The declared intent, confirmed in the official CENTCOM statement from spokesperson Captain Tim Hawkins, to board and seize the vessel. That language is legally and operationally specific. In international maritime law, seizing a flagged vessel of another sovereign nation in an internationally recognized transit corridor without legal authority constitutes an act of piracy regardless of the nationality or uniform of the actors involved. When the targeted vessel holds a documented contractual relationship with U.S. Military SEALSIFT Command, the implications extend beyond maritime crime into the domain of U.S. military logistics infrastructure and the enforcement of freedom of navigation. Maintain course. Report all contacts. Do not alter speed. Hull classification DDG-74 is an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer. She has been operating independently in the Persian Gulf since January 5th. She deployed from Naval Station Norfolk, Virginia on November 25th. She is not part of Abraham Lincoln's strike group. She is an independent asset, conducting presence operations, freedom of navigation patrols, and theater security cooperation missions in the Gulf. The Arleigh Burke class has served continuously in these waters for 3 decades. Each hull in the class carries a sensor and weapons suite that remains among the most capable installed on any surface combatant in any navy in the world. DDG-74 carries the AN/SPY-CY01D phased array radar, continuous 360-degree surveillance of the full air and surface picture. She carries the Mk-41 vertical launch system loaded with standard missiles SM-2 and SM-6, for air defense, Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles, and ASROC anti-submarine rockets. She carries a 5-inch Mk-45 Mod 4 naval gun forward. She carries Harpoon anti-ship missile launchers. She carries MH-60R Seahawk helicopter capability for extended surface and subsurface search. She carries the SLQ-3-2 electronic warfare suite. She carries a CEC terminal. Her close-in weapons system provides terminal intercept capability. 2 IRGCN fast attack boats do not alter the tactical balance when DDG-74 is in the area of operations. McFall moves to Stena Imperative's position. Into position. Placing an armed combatant vessel physically between an aggressor and a vessel under threat is one of the oldest and most unambiguous signals in naval operations. It requires no radio communication, no diplomatic note, no formal declaration. The physical geometry of a guided missile destroyer placing herself between 2 fast attack boats and a tanker in a 3 nautical mile shipping lane transmits a message that needs no translation for any officer who has served aboard a warship. All ahead full. Close the escort position. Simultaneously, U.S. Air Force assets provide defensive air support overhead. The CENTCOM official statement confirms this fact. The specific aircraft type, launching base, and altitude are not confirmed in public reporting. Analytically, Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar sits approximately 200 nautical miles from the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. has maintained a major continuous Air Force presence at that installation. Fighter and ISR assets based there have demonstrated rapid response capability throughout this region. What specifically was overhead, platform, loadout altitude, loiter window is not confirmed in public records. That it was overhead is confirmed. That the IRGCN boat commanders would have been able to assess an overhead fixed-wing U.S. military presence through their own sensors is analytically assessed as likely. Arabian Sea. A confirmed Iranian Shahed-139 military drone was launched against USS Abraham Lincoln, operating in international waters 500 miles from Iran's coast. The drone was detected at 63 nautical miles. Visual confirmation via FLIR and electro-optical imaging was achieved. De-escalation was transmitted on multiple guard frequencies in English and in Farsi. The drone maintained course and did not comply. A Marine Corps F-35C from VMF 314 executed the intercept and destroyed the target before it reached CPA. The carrier was never placed in physical jeopardy because the intercept architecture worked at range. ISR tasking, CEC track distribution, FLIR and EO confirmation, RO framework compliance, and 5th-generation intercept execution all functioned in sequence as designed. The system performed. Strait of Hormuz. 2 IRGCN fast attack boats and a Mohajer drone converged on a U.S.-flagged tanker with documented military SEALIFT command connections and stated intent to conduct a forced boarding and seizure. USS McFall responded, interposed, and the seizure was not completed. U.S. Air Force assets were overhead. The tanker transited safely. The system performed again. 2 events, 1 operational day, 1 adversary. Whether these two operations were coordinated at the Iranian command level, whether the drone approach in the open ocean and the tanker seizure attempt in the choke point were elements of a synchronized plan, is analytically assessed as possible but not confirmed in any public reporting. The timing is noteworthy. Both events executed within the same operational day, against different target categories, in operationally separated geographic areas, could represent a synchronized dual-domain pressure operation. One event absorbing carrier ISR and combat air patrol resources in open ocean, the second moving against a logistics asset in the confined choke point while attention is divided. That concept is consistent with assessed IRGCN doctrine. It is not confirmed as the design intent. It is an assessed possibility. What is confirmed is the result. The official CENTCOM statement, delivered through spokesperson Captain Tim Hawkins, describes these events as part of a pattern of continued Iranian harassment. The word "continued" carries operational weight beyond description. It signals institutional documentation. The US military is tracking this as a trend, not categorizing each incident as isolated. It communicates that accountability for the pattern is being assigned at the state level, not diffused across individual events. The statement also names miscalculation as an explicit risk the pattern is generating. In the operational vocabulary of deterrence, miscalculation is not a rhetorical device. It describes a specific failure mode, an actor operating on an incorrect assessment of its adversary's response threshold, continuing escalatory behavior up to and past the point where it can no longer be walked back. Naming that risk publicly in an official government statement attributed to a named spokesperson is a directed communication. It tells whoever authorized both operations today that the assumptions set underlying those decisions may not accurately reflect the tolerances of the force being tested. The drone did not reach the carrier. The tanker was not seized. Both operations failed against the response architecture they encountered. Abraham Lincoln is still on station. 500 miles from Iran's coast, VMFA 314 holds one confirmed aerial kill in this theater on this date. The next combat air patrol cycle is airborne, the SPY. 1D is scanning northeast. McFall is still in the Persian Gulf, independent, armed, on patrol. The Strait of Hormuz remains open. The Shahed-139 that flew today flew alone. Flew straight. Flew against a fully networked, fully alert carrier battle group with a fifth-generation Intercept aircraft on immediate ready. It was detected at 63 nautical miles. It was identified at 47. It was engaged before it closed inside 25. Initial detection to terminal engagement. Analytically estimated at under 40 minutes. That is the response architecture Iran tested today. That is the architecture that performed without failure at any step. But the Shahed family does not fly only as single assets. The saturation employment concept, multiple drones, multiple simultaneous approach bearings, overlapping closure geometry designed to stress the geometric limits of a carrier's defensive coverage, is a documented operational variant in the assessed IRGCN and IRGC Air Force Employment Manual. One drone tests the system. One drone measures the response timeline. One drone maps the detection range, the intercept distance, and the decision-to-weapons cycle. Today's result provides a precise data point. A single drone, uncoordinated, flown straight, is not sufficient against this architecture. What the next employment concept looks like, whether it remains a single asset or becomes something more complex, is not resolved by the confirmed reporting available today. That question is open. It is the right question to hold. It is the question Abraham Lincoln's next watch team inherits at turnover. The CIC display is clear. The board is clean. The track that closed this engagement is gone from the display. Stena Imperative is in the Persian Gulf. McFall is on escort. Lincoln is flying. A clean board in these waters is not a permanent state. It is a temporary condition between contacts. The next contact will not announce its nature or its intent. It will appear as it always appears, as data, a bearing, a range, a track number assigned to something that has not yet identified itself. And the watch team will begin again, detecting, assessing, challenging, deciding, with the same clinical discipline and the same procedural precision that closed this engagement without a single American life lost. That is the standard. That is the watch. The watch that matters most is always the one beginning right now. Subscribe to Navy Operations for more.